Hello, everybody. This is Sharon Burch, and I'm so happy to be with you tonight. Looks like my face is not on the screen, and I'm not quite sure what to do about that. Let me just pause here and see if I can fix that. Okay, welcome everybody to tonight's webinar. This is the 7 Secrets to Taming Your Inner Saboteurs. And I'm very happy to be here and share some things with you that I've learned that I think will help you too. As I said, I'm Sharon Burch. I'm the CEO of New Directions for Nurses. So tonight's, you can expect that you'll be able to identify at least 2 ways you can activate your entrepreneurial strengths and genius and use your self-sabotaging thoughts as fuel for your professional growth. So let's look at the top 3 nurse entrepreneur mindset problems. I'd be interested to hear if you have any of these yourselves. Do you avoid marketing? Like, even if you think you know what to do in marketing, do you find yourself holding back and avoiding it? Do you have self-criticism and negative self-talk in your mind? Or do you lie awake at night worried about making a mistake in your business? So I welcome you to enter into the chat your answer to that question. Or if you have other problems, love to see what those are. Okay, Lauren says yes, mostly number 1 right now for her, and that would be the marketing problems, marketing avoidance. Okay, and Vicky says yes, mostly 1. Okay, well, I'll tell you the truth. I have some of that myself too, and so I work with myself. My mindset and what's going on inside myself. And I'm going to share with you what I do. Okay, so why do you think nurse entrepreneurs are often less able to be as empowered as they want to be? And think about that and then put a few words in the chat. And what I'm talking about is I've seen myself and so many nurse entrepreneurs where we know what we're doing in a normal job, nursing job, whether it's at the bedside or in academia or in administration, or so many different roles that we play as nurses. We know what we're doing in the job and we feel empowered and confident and competent. But then when we get into the role in developing our own business, we feel unsure. So let me see what, yeah, Lauren says we are taught to follow orders. We absolutely are. That is drilled into us. Follow orders, doctor's orders, follow the facility policies and procedures. Vicky says it's a service occupation where others make decisions and we implement. That is so true. Okay, so let's look a little bit more at this. Here is a wonderful graphic showing a typical day in the life of an entrepreneur. And this is any entrepreneur, not just nurses. A day we can put us through all these ups and downs, like we're doing horribly, we're doing great, we know what we're doing, we don't know what we're doing. Every entrepreneur I know laughs when they see this slide because we all relate to some part of it. Okay, now nurse entrepreneurs have all those things plus more. And this next slide is based on a study done by Jacobson and her team in Denmark on nurse entrepreneurs. And I've cited that reference at the bottom, so you can look that up if you'd like. So one thing nurses have that's in addition to other entrepreneurs is we have all these conditioned beliefs about our identity as a nurse, what a nurse is, and also what's normal behavior for a nurse and what isn't. And the values, for instance, we value transparency and advocacy of the client and on and on. So many things. And some of those are quite different than normal mainstream business values. Okay, another thing that Jacobson and her group found was that nurses have difficulty shifting from using standardized, established procedures to experimenting and innovating. And yes, that's something that Vicki brought up. We also have a basic distrust of conventional business values because we've seen how they can exploit people and be less than honest and be self-serving. And we don't want to be any of those things. But we lack guidance on how to use nursing values and models in our business. Does somebody have a comment? Okay, I'm going to mute the person that just spoke. Okay, great. And so we also have a huge volume of things to learn. We have everything that the general public needs to learn about doing in business when they start out. And we also have these things for nurses. And in many ways, we need to, when we hear business education, especially if it's, it's a new language for one thing with new words. They're English words, but they're used in different ways than we're used to. So it takes some translating in our mind. It also takes tremendous empowerment and tools to keep our mindset positive. And then it takes shifting our mindset from the established procedures into experimenting and innovating and finding nursing models. So all these things, it's a huge volume of things to learn, and it takes significant time and energy. So tonight we're looking at the mindset and point of view part. That's where our self-saboteurs are. It's in our mindset and our point of view. And article that was in the Harvard Business Review said that their studies had found that up to 70 to 80% of business success comes from how we handle our mindset and point of view. And that less than 50% comes from taking the right actions in the right order at the right time. Now, that was a big surprise to me when I got into business. I thought it would be like nursing, where, in nursing, it's all about taking the right actions in the right order at the right time with the right patient, right? And our mindset and point of view is not, we know it's important and it's there and it has a role, but it takes the back seat, doesn't it? Compared to the right actions, the right order at the right time. In business, success is it's just the opposite, with our mindset and point of view in the front seat, and taking the right actions in the right order at the right time is secondary. Now, why would that be? Well, the thing is, if we don't have, in our business, if we don't have the right mindset and point of view, we won't take those right actions in the right order at the right time. Our inner resistance will come up and prevent us or slow us down from taking the right actions at the right time. So, it's a whole different environment. We don't have those policies and procedures or doctor's orders. There's no higher authority telling us what to do and what not to do. We're the authority. So I think that's a very important thing for us to kind of wrap our minds around and let it sink in. So I'm going to share with you 7 secrets tonight that I use and that I teach my students in the Liberated Nurse Business Incubator. And the first one is to embrace our natural gifts and stop trying to excel in our weaker areas. Now that might be a little bit of a surprise to you too, because in most of our school systems, the way we've been raised and conditioned, we think we've got to, work hard on our weak areas to bring them up. But the thing is, as adults, there's just too much to learn. We are better off to develop our natural gifts and strengths and lead with those and use those to develop our success, and delegate or hire people to do the weaker areas, or just do them in a less than perfect way. That's another option that is perfectly fine. And the reason this secret is so important is because over the long term, if we expect ourselves to do a lot of things that are contrary to our innate nature or our values, we won't be able to keep it up. Okay, we will fail in some way. And sometimes our negative self-talk is actually pointing out to us that we might be trying to push ourselves in an area that is one of our weaker areas. And so it's like an intuition in that way, that's saying, maybe that's not the direction for you. And in that case, maybe it's not. It's good to pause and ask ourselves and look at that. Is this the right direction for me? So that's secret number one. Now, this is based on something that one of my mentors, Roger James Hamilton, has taught me. And Roger is the CEO of a company called the Entrepreneurs Institute. It's a global education organization for entrepreneurs. He started it in Singapore, and it's gradually coming to the West. And he believes that everyone is born a genius in their own unique way. But when we judge ourselves by something that's not in our genius, like something we would not even be capable of, sometimes we judge ourselves by. And that if we do that, we will believe something's wrong with us, when actually it's just a matter of that we're trying to do something that we weren't made for. So Roger coaches that it's very important for us to know which game we're born to play and then learn to play that well. And he's provided a little free test. If you haven't taken this genius test yet, I encourage you to do that. You can either type in the URL right here, or you can just use this QR code. Either way, take the test when you have a chance and find out a little bit more about your entrepreneurial genius, because this test is designed to help you become aware of where your strengths are in terms of developing a business. And there are many different strengths, and none of us have all of them. So that is why it's important for us to find out what our strengths are and develop those. Now, I put together this slide to give you examples of the four primary energies in the entrepreneur genius assessment. And I don't know any of these nurses personally, so I hope they'll forgive me if I've misassessed them. But I'm based on my understanding of the four energy blueprints. I think I've chosen these four nurses as exemplars to just sort of illustrate to you what the four main energies are. And there's four main ones, and then there's four more that are blends of the four main ones. So there's a total of 8 energies. And this is a system based on the I Ching. So the visionary is ideas smart, and they're great at starting things, but not as good at finishing them. You probably recognize Martha Rogers there as an exemplar. The Blaze genius are people smart, and they love people, but they also get distracted quickly. And I chose Jean Watson to exemplify this energy that's very warm and very caring and very smart about people. Going around then clockwise is the tempo genius. They are senses smart. And I've chosen Ernest Grant, the past president of the ANA. This energy is grounded and sustaining. But also sometimes they get lost in their activity rather than staying connected with the people as much as the people smart Blaze genius does, or not staying as alert to the big ideas like the visionaries in the dynamo genius. So there again, everybody has their specialty. We all, by the way, we all have all the energies, but most of us have one or two that are our primary energies or more dominant. And then this fourth one is the steel genius. And people with this energy dominating are very smart with details. They take care of the details. They love to measure things and know how performance is going based on the data. And so this is called a refining type of energy. And I chose Charlene Platten here for that. She's the developer of the Fifth Window self-care app for nurses. So now I want to shift and we looked at our genius. Now let's look at the self-criticism and negative self-talk. So I'm going to introduce you to some archetypal saboteurs, and I'd love to hear which ones have been talking to you. So as you see these come up, please type in the chat which ones you relate to. So the first one is Finn the Fraud. So when he's with us, we're thinking things like, who do I think I am? Trying to coach these people. They'd probably rather connect with someone who's more, and you can fill in the blank, educated, more of an expert, older or younger, or can be anything. The point is, we're thinking that we're fraud. I don't really know what I'm talking about. That's those thoughts. I don't know how to run a business. Why don't I just get a job? And I'm so kidding myself. No one is going to buy my program, and it's not going to work for them if they do. So Finn is the epitome of the imposter syndrome, where we just doubt ourselves and we don't. Now, it doesn't have to be a paralyzing level of feeling like an imposter, but it comes up and it can make us hesitate or hold back in marketing and in talking to people, getting visible, things like that. Okay, that's Finn. Now there's also Oscar overwhelm. And Oscar just feels like there's always too much to do. And where do I start? And Oscar, the flip side of Oscar is when he's overwhelmed and thinks he's going to really get a lot done today, he winds up procrastinating instead. Maybe just before I dive in, I'll do a little cleaning. This stack on my table really needs to get done. I'll do that, and then I'll have the energy to go forward with my work today. Or maybe another variation of that is I'll watch a little of my favorite show first, and then I'll get started. But then, oops, that took way longer than I thought, and now I feel more overwhelmed than ever. The next one is Perfect PJ. I feel embarrassed about my marketing message, so I hesitate to put it out there. Maybe I'll just make one more revision before I share about my service. Or, I've got plenty of energy, but I'm just not business savvy. I'm going to need to take some more courses. I'm going to need to keep learning. I'm not ready yet. Another thing the perfectionist mindset might say is, well, I'm just afraid people won't find my offer compelling or worth the investment. Or worse yet, like we might have thoughts of, well, what if I make a mistake and this hurts my reputation? Okay, so have any of these sounded like something that you've heard in your mind lately? Lauren says Oscar overwhelm and perfect PJ. Yeah. Yeah. Lauren, I relate to all of these. I'll tell you, I've dealt with all of these. So don't be surprised or embarrassed. Any of you, these can all pop up from time to time. Okay, so here's another one. No time, Nancy. There's never enough time. I'm too busy to develop my business, to really develop it. Or maybe I'm just working so hard and working countless hours and still not getting ahead. That's like two sides of the same coin. No time, Nancy. You have no time, Nancy, if you have lists of lists. Or you lay awake thinking about what needs to be done and how to do it. Okay. And another little symptom of this problem is that we think no one can help me because they just move too slow. I should just do it all myself. I can do it faster. Now, here's another one, priceless Pam. When we feel this energy, we're feeling like, well, really anything to do with money makes me uncomfortable. Or if I charge too much, then no one will pay and I won't get clients. Or I'm afraid people aren't going to pay me enough and I'll end up losing everything. I just better get a job before it's too late. And Nicheless Nancy thinks things like, my services will help everyone. I have a lot of ideas and I bounce around about who to serve. No matter which niche I choose, I'll miss out on helping someone. So I just need to stay general and broad. But then I put off talking to people because I feel confused about who to approach. And the last one is Low Tech Tyler, who doesn't like technology and is drained by the thought of learning tech stuff. They only get so far before they get frustrated and quit. And when they read or hear tech instructions, they feel like just frozen, like a deer in the headlights. So those are examples. There's many more examples of self-sabotaging thoughts and that we can have, and negative self-talk. And I'm going to be sharing, when I share the replay, I'll share a handout I've made that has more information about each of these so that you can have it as a reference. Think about it for yourself. Lauren says in the chat, probably the only one I don't relate to is Low Tech Tyler. And she's a steel energy, which is usually more comfortable with technology, and the details and all. So that would make sense. So here's a recap of those particular saboteurs, and there's others that will be in the handout. But this leads us to the second secret, which is when you feel these self-critical thoughts coming up or sabotaging thoughts, it's important to just pause and take it in for a minute, let it register. Because a lot of times these thoughts are way in the back of our mind and we don't even fully hear them. They're just like maybe a little whisper or a little nagging thought, and we just push them away usually. But there's a gift in these messages. These saboteurs are expressing feelings. okay? Every one of them has some feeling that they're expressing. And when you pause to listen to them or to hear them, I encourage you to ask yourself, whose voices am I hearing? Sometimes it's our own voice. Other times it's a voice of a parent or a teacher or some authority figure that we have taken in their feelings about moving ahead rather than our feelings. Okay. So listen to the saboteur, listen to ask yourself, what feelings are they expressing? And I'm going to give you a little help with that. Here is a short list of universal feelings, human feelings, and you will get a more complete list in the handouts. But these feelings on the screen are some examples of very common feelings that are causing the saboteurs to come up. Okay. We might feel afraid. We might feel embarrassed. We might feel vulnerable or confused. And these are valid human feelings. And it will hold us back from, it will slow us down or prevent us from moving forward to the success we want if we don't treat ourselves as a whole person and acknowledge our feelings. And this theory is based on the work of Marshall Rosenberg and the Center for Nonviolent Communication. So what Marshall taught us is that our feelings point to needs. And so we want to notice the feeling and then ask, what does our saboteur need? And here's a short list of some of the things that might be the needs underneath the feelings. We might be feeling a need for more acceptance. We might be feeling might need more clarity. You can pause if you're watching the video. You can pause and kind of. I encourage you to take this in and reflect on the feelings that your saboteurs may be expressing with their negative self-talk, and then asking yourself what is the need that's where that feeling is coming from. What does that part of me need? Or what did that parent or authority figure that drilled this into me, what did they need? What need was driving their feelings of fear or incompetence or those kind of things. The thing is, once you recognize the need, then you can make conscious choice of the way you want to meet your need. It gives you so much more empowerment and agency and choice. So these are the next steps. This is secret 3. Take the next steps with this information about the saboteur's feelings and needs. Thank your saboteur for caring enough to speak up, even though maybe the message wasn't very clear. At least it was shared. And confirm that you can and will meet the need. Okay? And then if you need to, get support, ask for support so that you can find a way to meet the need that your saboteur is expressing. Okay. Any questions about that so far? We've gone through 3 of the 7 secrets in tonight's webinar. Does anyone have any questions or even an example where you would illustrate what I'm talking about, an experience you've had? Okay. So secret 4 is, and these I'm sharing these in a progression. Of course, life isn't linear, as we know. So these could happen at simultaneously or in different orders, but I've laid it out as a progression so you can see how they nest or connect with each other. So the fourth secret is to identify your strengths. And here's some examples that are common among nurses. We all have a variety of strengths in different measures. And so this is one example. You might relate to a lot of these strengths on the screen. And so, or you might think sometimes you don't know what your strengths are. So I want to give you some ways to identify your strengths. The first one is to ask some friends to tell you what strengths they see in you. And I really recommend this exercise. It can be surprising and it can be very affirming. And, if possible, ask 5 or 6 friends to tell you what strengths they see in you. When they tell you, give it a chance to sink in. Don't minimize these or shrug them off, okay? Or it's kind of, a lot of times it's our first reaction that we just want to minimize that and say like, oh, everybody has that strength, or, oh, that's not a big deal, or whatever. These are your strengths. These are what people are seeing in you. So take it in. You can also reflect on your experiences using a handout I'm going to give you with the recording. It's a strengths handout, and it will give you some archetypes, the way I gave you with the saboteurs, and some more information about each one. And then when you take the Genius quiz, it will give you information about strengths that you have that are entrepreneurial strengths. And that can also be helpful to take that in and use it in working with your saboteurs. So that actually leads to secret 5. Call on your strengths. When you're feeling, hearing the negative self-talk and self-criticism, feeling unsure and uncertain, call on your strengths. These are examples that I will be in the handout, but the more often we practice calling on our strengths and activating them, the faster and easier they will engage with us. And secret 6 is that you can actually introduce your saboteurs to your strengths. This is like a little mind exercise. All these things are working with our mind and our emotions, and hopefully bringing them together, bringing more clarity to them, shining light on them, and being more conscious. And so you can introduce your saboteurs to your strengths and ask your strengths to help you meet the needs that your saboteurs are pointing to. So let's look at some examples here. Shine your light, Luca, can remind Finn how your education and professional experience has prepared you. And it can say, for instance, I have something of value to share. And so I will help you meet your needs for reassurance and for clarity and so on. I'll help you meet your needs. And then we're going to go forward together. It's always good, as holistic nurses, we want to bring our whole self, not leave parts of us separated or fragmented or left behind. Another example is that research Ryan might say, hey, Finn, I test and I rely on my evidence and I move forward just one step at a time. So I'm not going to get us in danger. You're going to be safe. So the point of this little example is you can trust that your service is good enough to start with and that you will improve along the way. And when you take that approach, it will help your saboteurs relax. And it'll help you stay in the driver's seat as a very conscious and competent nurse entrepreneur. Now let's look at another example. Here's Break It Down, Betty, and Get It Done, Gail, with Oscar Overwhelm. And let's see what they have to say. So Break It Down, Dale reminds us to create and follow a plan. And that will help us focus on one thing at a time and calm our feelings of overwhelm. And Get It Done, Dylan likes to use the systems so that they can work with systems to support them. They can more often work at their genius level. So these things can help us stay in the present. And when we're feeling overwhelmed, we can use time blocking. We can ask for help, and we can use the do, delegate, or dump so that we pare down our list of things to do. And there are a lot more examples in the handout that I'm going to give you of how to work with overwhelm and with the other saboteurs. And the last secret is to make sure you connect with inspiring, energizing people, ideas, and nature every day. Our saboteurs won't come around as often. And when they do, we will have more strength through inspiration from other people, other ideas, and nature. Don't be scared, be inspired. So I want to pause and see, are there any more questions about anything I've gone over so far? Is this something you feel like could be helpful to you? Everybody's being quiet tonight. Okay, that's all right. Oh, here's a chat. Here's a comment. Vicky says, helpful and easy to follow. All right. Thank you, Vicky. I'm glad. That's what I do in the Liberated Nurse Entrepreneur community is I like to bring things down to the small steps and help nurse entrepreneurs reduce the overwhelm, reduce the risk so that we can all proceed and succeed, not get stuck. Lauren says this is definitely helpful to remember asking what the feeling is and what the feeling needs. Okay, great. So I have just a few more slides to share with you, and then we can wrap up. I want to bring in the point of how important it is to get, in addition to working with our mindset and our feelings and needs that are inside that we just covered, and that we know is up to 70 to 80% of business success. We also want to learn about what those right steps are to take in the right order at the right time with the right people. And so it's important to get business education that honors both the inside work that you'll be doing and the outside work that you'll be doing, and honors your nursing license, your ethics, and point of view. So we know about how important it is to have evidence-based practice. We've heard a lot about that. And that is especially designed to help us choose interventions for individuals. But in business, we are working more like a community health nurse than a direct patient care nurse. And community health nurses work with evidence-informed practice because they're designing programs for groups, for communities, for families, things like that, for corporations. And there's individuals within those groups, but it's just a little bit different. So evidence-informed practice includes a wider scope of evidence sources than evidence-based. Evidence-based, as you know, really wants us to find those peer-reviewed, controlled studies. And that's great when there are those around. But a lot of times in our businesses, we don't have that level of research to rely on. So we look for a wider scope that includes things like expert opinions, best practice guidelines, case studies, and our own experience and the experience of other nurse entrepreneurs in our peer group and the experience of our mentors. And I have the reference there at the bottom of that slide for you as well, if you want to read more about that. So I encourage you to stay focused and on track. The best way to get to work with our saboteurs and our mindset is, definitely the secrets I taught you tonight. And then in addition to that, get the support of a supportive community for entrepreneurial nurses. And so that your business doesn't feel like you're just pushing a boulder up a hill, so that you actually can get some momentum and develop an unstoppable business. And so I want to wind up, I want to share some resources with you. This is a list of business communities for nurses where you can get the support that I'm talking about. The first 3 bullets right here are all on Facebook. If you do Facebook, you can search for the Nurse Coach Connection if you're a nurse coach. The AHNA, the American Holistic Nurses Association, has a Facebook group for nurse entrepreneurs. And my company has a Facebook group called the Liberated Nurse Entrepreneurs. All of those groups are free to join. So look them up and join. And then when you're in there, introduce yourself, share what you're working on in your business, and share when you have the self criticism or negative self-talk come up. And if you find success in the secrets I've given you, share about that in these groups. Tell people what works, because every entrepreneur is dealing with these same issues. And I can tell you, I'm in higher level masterminds with mainstream conventional entrepreneurs. Sometimes they're making millions of dollars, and they still deal with these saboteurs. The thing is that every time we grow to a new level, or we're getting ready to transition to a new level, the saboteurs come back. And so we get to work with them again. And then they get feeling secure and everything's fine for a while. And then we were ready to grow to another level, they show up again. So that's one of the reasons I'm so excited to share this with you, is because if you can start learning the skills of working with them at the beginning of your business, they won't hold you back, and you can move forward, and you'll have those skills to keep serving you as you continue to grow. The next bullet, the National Nurses and Business Association, that is a great support group, as well as the Society for Nurse Scientists, Innovators, Entrepreneurs, and Leaders. I've given you their websites. Now, both of those, there's money involved to join those organizations, but they give great support to their members. And then I've also included my business, the Liberated Nurse Entrepreneurs community, with our website. And I invite you to go there if you haven't already. Look around, see what we offer. We offer a lot of webinars like this free one. And in the coming months this year, we're going to offer other small workshops like this, some free, some for a very minimal amount of money, to make it very accessible for nurses to grow, nurse entrepreneurs to grow. And we also have a free group coaching Zoom on the first Tuesday of every month. And you can, if you're not already on the mailing list for reminders about that, just send an email to info@liberatednurse.com and I'll send you the registration link. And this is a wonderful group coaching and community experience on Zoom. And if you attend every month, or if you attend often, you'll get to know the people, the nurse entrepreneurs that come to this community and support each other and celebrate each other's successes, as well as help each other when we're challenged. And so, again, it's a free group coaching opportunity focused on helping you build your business. I've also given you one other resource, which is access to the business advice that I give in private one-to-one sessions. And so if you're interested in that, you can also go to liberatednurse.com/business advice. So that is the end of my presentation tonight. I'm going to stop sharing the screen so that we can see each other, and would love to hear from you. Any of you, what were the takeaways that you got tonight from this? And what are your next action steps? Who wants to share?
I'll share, Sharon. I really enjoyed the concept of dialoguing with my saboteurs, and identifying which one shows up, because it depends on what day, what's going on, who shows up.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of recognizing it as a communication with myself.
Yeah.
And then say, okay, what do you need? It's very different than saying to a client or a friend, what do you need? Okay, so this is a self-dialogue. And so I appreciate that reframe of being able to have that conversation with myself. You made it simple. So thank you.
Great. Good. You're welcome.
Sharon, I had a question for you. I agree with what Vicky said about dialoguing with your inner saboteurs. You never know which one's going to show up, and where they come from. Half the time you're like, I thought I dealt with this. It's back. Okay.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I really like that you brought up was the evidence-informed practice, which I've been paying attention to a little bit more. I know that that I worry like with my scope of practice a lot and what I'm doing with my license. So that's something I'm definitely leaning into a little bit more. My question surrounding that is, obviously Oscar overwhelm is a big one for me, and I don't want to get so bogged down in the research that that's my main focus, or I don't want to feel like I'm either over or under utilizing research in my practice as well. Do you have any tips for dealing with that?
Yeah, I think to trust yourself that you have enough when you're ready to start. I know you're not there yet. You're putting the foundations in place, which is very important. So just trust yourself that when you've got your foundations in place, you'll be fine to start practicing, and that you'll keep building on your evidence base as you go, and that you won't take risks that are dangerous. You'll manage your risks and keep them small as you take small steps.
Okay. Do you have any tips for, I guess, organizing our research? Because that's a struggle of mine too. I feel like I don't want to lean so much on individualized plans, which is kind of what I find myself doing. I do want to be able to kind of streamline and generalize this a little bit more. That way, I can provide this research easily to people that are going to be able to benefit from it, or support what I'm telling them.
Yeah. I suggest that you keep notes. Digital, I prefer. You can do what you want, but digital are great. And like, for instance, Google Drive, because you can search by keyword to find things later. I don't keep notes that are like clinical notes, though. I mean, right now I don't have a clinical practice, but when I did in my business, I kept it as case studies. So describing, with confidentiality, not using the person's name, but saying, describing the person, describing their problem that they came with and their goal, what they wanted to achieve, and then our process, a little bit about the process and the outcome. So it can be kept like a short story, but all those parts are important. And it's also important to, in my opinion, it's important to have some way of measuring the change between where they were when they started and where they were when they ended in relationship to what they wanted to achieve. So you do want to have some kind of evaluation process at the end of your service with the person.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, I'll just say one more thing about yours, Lauren, because I know you have an interest in bringing herbalism into your nursing practice with people. So in that case, I would, of course, always say the herbs that I recommend that they used and what kind of results they got. That would be for me so that I could go back and remind myself down the road, oh, that's what they tried. This is the result they got, that kind of thing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet. Oh, Yen, hi. Would you like to share tonight? And it's nice to see you here.
Hi, Sharon. Sorry, I took my mom for an appointment, so I was like driving and trying to listen as I was running her back and forth.
I'm glad you could be here. Thanks for fitting it in.
Thank you for doing this. This has really been very informative and um, definitely can relate to a lot, not just a couple of the saboteurs, but quite a quite a few of them that I'm struggling with right now. And I'm actually doing some research on what I would like to focus on, and I am starting to really like the path of lifestyle medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So I am doing a little more research in it. I actually recently joined the American College of Lifestyle Medicine to have more access to some of the information and see how I can apply that eventually into
Wonderful.
practice. So
Yeah. Good for you. I'm happy for you. 'Cause I hope that you'll stay in touch and, so we know how you're doing on your path.
thank you. I definitely will.
Good. Any want to share any final questions or comments? And we have one person joining us here right at the end. Hi, Stacy, welcome. We're just wrapping up. So thank you everyone for joining us. And I'll be sending out the recording tomorrow with the handouts. And if you have other things that you'd like to learn, feel free to send them to me. My email address is on the screen, sharon@liberatednurse.com. And I'll put them in, in my pot of things I'm cooking and see what comes up, what else I can share and teach about during this year. Plan to do one class like this every month. All right. Thank you for being here tonight. And see you. Look forward to seeing you around. You're welcome. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.